Former Florida and Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer had some halfway nice things to say recently about the Georgia football program and high school football overall in the state of Georgia. He was on the All Things Covered podcast, I guess a few days ago now, and they were talking about, the best jobs in college football. And Urban Meyer basically said that Georgia is up there towards the top. This is what he said. He said, "I've always said Georgia, they're doing it right now. Within 3 or 4 hours of campus, you stumble over players." Here's the interesting thing about Georgia. I think it's as good of high school coaching as there is in the country. And listen, I cover, high school football in the state of Georgia as well. I cover Georgia football, Georgia recruiting, high school football. So he's right. I mean, the amount of talent in Georgia is, up there with, the best in the country. Obviously, Texas and Florida stand out as the two best as far as developing and producing high school football talent. But Georgia is absolutely number 3, and it just goes to show you, how good the coaching is across the state of Georgia. The youth programs that get these kids involved early, so where they can grow and develop. By the time they get to high school, we're seeing younger and younger players play at the high school level, and it's really cool to see. So he basically said Georgia is up there at the top, if not, the top job in college football, and he's right. And, we've said over and over again that the Georgia football program was a sleeping giant, right? They said the same about Florida when Steve Spurrier got there, that this is a program with a lot of potential. If you do things right, it could blow up. And that's what happened at Florida, and that's what's happening at Georgia now that, Vince Dooley took this program to a championship back in the 80s, right? They had their run. Mark Richt almost woke up the giant. He was tapping that giant, trying to get it awake, and it almost happened. Kirby Smart comes in and he wakes that giant within the first few years, right? This program really turned around in his second year in 2017 and finally got that national championship victory in 21, repeated last year, 22, and now they're on the quest for a three-peat. So the giant is awake, and the potential had always been there, right? Georgia has the resources, they have the funding, they have the program history, they have the rich recruiting landscape, and that's what he's talking about in that original quote. In the Atlanta area and in South Georgia, and then in different pockets of the state, there's always talent to be found. And so I think Georgia could build, that's, one of the best teams in college football, maybe not a national championship team, but one of the best in college football with just in-state players. So it is one of the best jobs. There is no in-state competition. It's Georgia Tech, right? You're not fighting Georgia Tech for some of the best players in the state. This is, the Calvin Johnson time, is over, and it's been over for a while. You're in the SEC. Everyone wants to play in the SEC. People watch Georgia games. They're some of the most watched college football games of the season. Georgia versus, SEC championship, the playoff, national championship against Florida, whoever. It's always a big draw. So, if you go to Georgia, you're on the big stage. And sometimes the biggest stage of the college football week. So that's what Urban Meyer had to say about Georgia. He went on to talk about other jobs too. This is what he said. As far as jobs go, I'd say Georgia and Ohio State are up there. I'd say the Gators / Florida State. He said / there, so those are equal. He said, I think they're really similar jobs because of the talent level. He, told a quick story about LSU. He said, we really didn't recruit Louisiana when I was at Florida. All the good players are going to LSU. I was upset with my recruiting guy once, and he said this laughing. He said, I got into it with my recruiting guy who insisted we fly to Louisiana. I told him, we're not getting that kid. So the LSU job's a great job. It's obviously a better job than Notre Dame, right? We saw Brian Kelly leave Notre Dame for LSU. Notre Dame used to be one of the best jobs in the country, but we know it's under LSU now. The Oklahoma job, once considered to be one of the best jobs in college football, doesn't have everything that Georgia has as far as the natural high school talent around there. They have to recruit nationally. You can't just recruit kids from Oklahoma, but it's obvious that the USC job is better than the Oklahoma job, with Lincoln Riley leaving OU to go to Southern Cal. But the Florida job is a good one. I think they just keep stumbling. The head coaching hire, and I've always said, Lane Kiffin at Florida would have been a smart hire, I thought, a couple years ago. But the right guy at Florida is going to turn that program around big time. The Tennessee job, nobody wanted that job a few years ago, and I think that hurts. That kind of taints the Tennessee job, Tennessee program, historically a little bit, because man, everyone they tried to hire said no. They got stuck with Jeremy Pruitt, who at the time I thought was going to be a better hire than what turned out. It was a complete disaster. but that's a job that has taken a hit. If you're looking at the top 10 jobs in college football, Georgia's probably top 3. Tennessee, that it's dropped because of that mess that happened, but that's a program with the right guy could turn back into a team that could compete for championships. Maybe they've got that guy right now in Heupel, but it's been a while. Alabama, obviously, probably a top 3 job as well. The Auburn job is incredibly tough. The South Carolina job is incredibly tough. Florida State is up there. They've won championships in different kind of eras. So that's always a program that could get back. Texas seems like, one of the best jobs in the country, but no one's been able to take that program to where it probably should be. So that's one that's kind of up in the air, as maybe it's not as good as once, people thought. The Ohio State job is a great job. There's no doubt about that. Top 3, top 5. People love the Penn State job. That's a job that's just looked upon as like just great because of the history that they've had there, and they don't like a ton of turnover. They want to keep their guy in and have that thing that going, right? And they're a good program. They're not a great program. Maybe one day they'll get back to their era where, they were competing for championships. Right now it's not happening. The Michigan job is a good job. I don't know if it's top 5 job. Nebraska, that's a tough job. I'm not sure that's, a job that people, thought. Talked about Notre Dame a little bit. The A&M job is a big one. You have a lot of money that can go into that program, obviously. So they're, the places with an open checkbook, who are saying, we need this. Okay, let's do it. We need more facilities. Let's do it. We need a bigger recruiting budget. Okay, let's do it. And that's what Georgia was. And Kirby Smart came into Athens and said, hey, we have to get this done. This has to be done. This has to be done. You want to win a championship, you do it this way, and this way. And, the boosters, the alumni, they said, yeah, whatever you want, let's get it done. Everything that's needed, let's go out and get it. It's turned into 2 championships. So at Georgia, there's a green check everywhere. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, no one's saying that's too much. If it's going to help the football team and the football program, it's being done at Georgia, and it's not being done like that at a lot of other places. But yeah, LSU's a great job. 3 different head coaches have been able to win championships there. That speaks a lot about how good that is and how good that program will kind of always be. It's got some spurts here and there where they're not so great. Ed Orgeron, the final year there was not great, but that's a program that can get back to winning in a hurry with the right guy. And I think that they are a program on the rise. But, what do you think of the top 5 jobs? I think Georgia is absolutely a top 3 job. Maybe Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. USC is a great job. Texas, I still think, is a very good job. The Clemson job is, I'd say, a fairly easy one. I think Dabo should be doing a little bit more. I think they're definitely regressed the past 2 years, but that's a program that could get back to their winning ways, I think. They should have a consistently very good program for a while. I think that's a good job. Miami, kind of tough to turn that one around, but they've had pockets of big time success, for different reasons. Some might not be, legal, but, it is what it is. But those documentaries are great of those Miami teams that were so good, but they're having a lot of trouble getting back to their winning ways. So not necessarily a top 10 job, maybe at Miami. I think it once was looked at that way, but I'm trying to think of some more. But the Washington job, the Oregon job, those are 2 jobs that obviously Dan Lanning wanted to jump on it. Those are tough to turn down, especially if you're trying to be a first-time head coach. Those are good programs who are consistently winning. Michigan State, they're paying Mel Tucker a lot of money. They care. They want to be very good. He obviously left Colorado for that state job, but leave a comment in the section below. What do you think are the top 5 jobs in college football? Who are the top 10 jobs in college football? Who's number 1? Urban Meyer, obviously, a guy who coached at Florida, coached at Ohio State, coached at Utah as well. Didn't work out in the NFL, but he knows the landscape of college football. He knows who the kings of college football are right now, and it's the Georgia Bulldogs. And easy to say that it is one of the top jobs in college football. Always has been, but it's even easier now, and it's even better now that they have 2 championships. Banners to fly in Sanford Stadium. Makes it easier to recruit, but they've never had a tough job recruiting at the University of Georgia. They're always going to get guys, and I think there will be more banners being flown, championship banners inside Sanford Stadium for years to come. Thanks for watching this video. As always, I appreciate it. Stay tuned to this channel and enjoy the next video coming up right now, and I will see you over on Dog Post.